Hi, this is Brett Ingram, entrepreneur and award-winning product creator. And today I want to share with you 5 steps to turn a customer complaint into gold. Okay, so the dreaded customer complaint. We don't want to hear that a customer is unhappy. And even worse, we certainly don't want to hear that our product or service didn't meet the needs or expectations of someone who bought it. I know that, I've gotten some complaints over the years and felt like it was an absolute punch in the gut. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to create a great product or service. I sell, whatever I sell. And despite the fact that I have a lot of happy customers, somebody comes back and they're upset. They feel like something isn't right. And it's not just a matter of, I didn't love it, but actually a complaint. And sometimes they're angry or whatever. It's a really uncomfortable feeling. And if you take a lot of pride in the products and services you're offering, it's disconcerting because nobody wants to feel like their product or service is not meeting someone's needs. And certainly they don't want to feel like, somebody was upset by it. And because we're so personally invested in our business and in our products and services, it can feel personal and it can feel like an attack in some cases. But the fact is, complaints and customer service in general are natural parts of business. They always have been, they always will be. So, the most important thing is to handle it the right way. No matter what we're doing in business, no matter what our industry, no matter what our niche, no matter what our, business model, we're going to have customers. We're going to be dealing with customer service. We're going to be dealing with complaints. And so that's just a fact of life. There isn't going to be a way around that. We can minimize things. We can, improve everything that we're doing to make that better and better and minimize all that. But it is an inextricable part of business. And it will be something that will happen to all of us, no matter what the case is. And so the first thing is just to understand that, that's going to happen and there's no way around it. So the most important thing we can do is to figure out how to handle it the right way. So when we do that, we put ourselves in a better position and we make customers happy at the same time. So there's 5 steps really that we can follow. And if we do these 5 steps, we can turn what started off as an unhappy customer, or maybe even an angry customer in some cases, into someone who is absolutely excited about what we have to offer and happy to share that with everybody they know. So the first thing that is super important is to not get emotional about it, right? It's very easy to grab for that emotion because you see a complaint come across, or you hear someone leave a voicemail with an angry complaint, or you talk to a customer who comes in and they're sort of, angry and all amped up and everything else. And so the first reaction or the first gut feel on it is it's very easy to get emotional. And it could be a number of emotions. We could be angry. We could be angry that how dare this customer come in and treat us this way? How dare this customer not be happy? We have all these other happy customers. What's wrong with them, right? Kind of thing. And we can actually get angry at the customer for even raising this complaint. Another thing we can do is we can get depressed. We can start to feel as though, oh, geez, I tried to offer this product and service, but I guess maybe it's not that good. This person came in, they weren't happy. They sent us this email or Facebook comment, and they were super upset. And the third thing we can do is be dismissive of it, where we can say, you know what, look, we got a lot of good customers. Everybody really likes our stuff. This person, whatever. They don't even know what they're talking about if they're complaining, because how could they? We have all these good customers that are all happy, and then this one person is just complaining. They're doing it for no reason. They want extra attention, so we'll just disregard that and ignore it. The problem with any of those reactions is that while they might make us feel better in the moment and might make us, gloss over our feelings a little bit, it doesn't help. And it's only going to lead to more issues, because if we don't solve the root problem, then what's going to happen is the likelihood of it happening again is going to go up. But furthermore, that customer who we left out on the limb is going to have an even worse experience, because even when they complained about it, we didn't do anything. And that can spell bad news, because not only are we going to lose them, but they're going to go tell other people. And that's just going to be a bad situation that snowballs and gets worse. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing that it's really important that we do is that we don't blame the customer. Look, I'm the first one to say I don't believe in the old saying, the customer's always right. They're not always right. I've had customers that have been wrong. I've had customers that have complained about things that were incorrect. They did something wrong, claimed they did it right, and then when I went to see it, I realized they did it wrong. But again, you could be right or you can fix the problem. But if you're focused on being right and beating your customers in a competition of who's right, we lose when we do that. So the best thing to do is to not blame the customer. And even if it is something that they did wrong, they're using our product wrong, they lost the information we told them to keep, they're doing something in a way that they're not supposed to be doing it, whatever, the best thing to do is to try to understand from their perspective what they were doing. We love our product or service. And so, it's very easy to brush things off if we think it's good. Is that on saying that, the customer's unrealistic expectations. So, okay, yeah, they came to us with a complaint, but what did they expect? You spent X, Y, Z in dollars and you expected this thing to wash your house for you and jump up and down. And, it's totally unrealistic. That may also be the case. Customers can be unrealistic. But again, when we treat it that way, we lose. And so that isn't a great recipe either. And the other option with that is to think, well, they're probably just as a customer a defective, right? They're that squeaky wheel customer that goes to everybody and complains about everything. And so we can't even take what they say seriously because they're constantly complaining. Look, they bought 5 or 6 of our products. They've refunded them all. They've complained about them all, and on and on and on. And so, again, the problem with all that kind of stuff is it doesn't help. And unfortunately, it actually creates a negative attitude toward customers that's dangerous in a business. When I was younger and very naive, one of the things I did, for better or worse, is I started a business, and I actually had a small team of 7 employees. And I was the CEO, but I was only like early 20s. And I had gone to college, but I didn't have a lot of entrepreneurial experience other than lemonade stands outside my own house and selling chestnut necklaces door to door. So, I thought I knew a lot more than I did, but I didn't have any experience, and I didn't have any corporate experience. So I had never been on the other side of the equation in a real environment where I could see how all of this stuff would kind of work and how you should treat things. And I remember, we were going through a very high stress time. We had a lot of orders to fill, and, sales were good, but it was very stressful because we were building custom PCs. And that takes a lot of labor. It takes a lot of work. You got to build them, you got to test them, and then you got to ship them, pack them, and ship them. And I remember, we started to get a couple of complaints coming in. And I wish I could take back the way I handled them. But I sort of brushed them off, and I didn't really consider the impact it would have on the staff. But the staff looks to you as the CEO. Your team members look to you as the CEO or as the leader to take their cues on how they react. And I'll never forget, because we were dealing with one customer, and he kept calling and complaining. And I remember hanging up the phone one time, and I was just frustrated. And so I vented, and I took it out on the customer, and I basically said, oh, this guy, blah, 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 blah. And then what ended up happening is I noticed over the next several days and several weeks, as support calls would come in, if it wasn't something that was easy for them to handle and easy for them to work through right away, they would be dismissive of the customer. They would not really want to deal with their issues. And when they would hang up the phone, they'd complain about the customer. And at the time, it didn't occur to me, but that was my fault. because I allowed that. I set that up as a norm for behavior, for a way it was okay to behave relative to a customer complaint. That's a massive mistake. If you are in a situation where you're the leader and you need to vent, then you need to go outside, you need to go for a run, you need to call up a friend who's unrelated to the business and vent in private. Don't ever let the staff see you or the team see you feel that way or act that way toward a customer, because it's absolutely detrimental. It hurts the entire like mood and entire like framework of the office mentally in terms of the way that they handle customer support. And that's a really bad look in terms of longevity as a business, especially nowadays. We were lucky because that was before the days of social media. Nobody was going to go on social media and flame us or complain about stuff because it didn't really exist. Nowadays, if you do that kind of thing, people will take you to task and they'll share that with everybody. And then you're in a really, really bad situation because you have a lot of bad press. So, lesson from my mistake, hopefully you learn in case you're in that situation. But the third thing that we need to do in these cases is we need to look at the facts. And we need to actually analyze the situation. Let's get analytical about it. Okay, so let's take the emotion out of it. Let's take the judgment out of it. And let's see, first off, do they actually have a legitimate complaint? Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes, like I said, they're using the product in a way it wasn't designed to be used. They have expectations that were never promised, whatever. That does happen. Other times, what they're saying is true. We just don't want to hear it. As a great leader, you need to surround yourself with people that are comfortable telling you the truth, even when that truth is something that you don't want to hear. And as a leader, we need to feel that same way with our customers and everybody else we deal with, by the way. We need to be willing to listen to things and hear things and not shut people down just because their opinion or their ideas or their thoughts or their reaction is different than what we want it to be. Because the reality of it is nothing runs that smoothly. So we need to be open-minded and we need to encourage that so people feel comfortable sharing that. So we need to be analytical and we need to figure out, okay, do they have a legitimate complaint? And is this something that we can look at and maybe solve for future customers preemptively so it doesn't happen again? And so once we do that and we're able to analyze it, then we can make an evaluation as to whether or not, this is a legitimate complaint or this is something that it's a one-offer, it's never going to happen again because it isn't based on, what the product is supposed to do. Now, either way, we still want to handle it the right way. But we can at least analyze it and see whether or not there's something in there that they're telling us that we could apply to fix all of those potential issues going forward. That's really, really valuable stuff if we can get a hold of that. The fourth thing that we need to do is we need to recognize the value. The value. These kinds of customers that take the time to reach out and to complain to us, I know it sounds funny, but we want to hug them. We want to thank them. Why? Because most unhappy people will just leave. And they'll say to themselves, these people stink, their products stink, their customer service stinks, we're just never going to do business with them again. And they might not go out of their way to tell other people that, but that customer is going to be lost forever. And if they happen to come in contact with somebody else who's considering, hey, I was going to go buy this from XYZ, they will share it. And they'll say, I wouldn't buy from them, I bought from them. And the product had this problem, and then when I called to get, something fixed or whatever it is, right? They're not big complainers, they just disappear. But they're likely to spread, if anything, negativity and apathy about our product, our service, our brand, which isn't good for us in the long run. And that's what most customers will do. I do it all the time. I have negative interactions with products, services, companies, and unless it's something really important to me, or unless it's something where I really feel wronged or whatever, for the most part, I just discontinue doing business with them. I don't have time or energy to be bothered to raise a complaint for everything I'm unhappy about. So I just go away. But they've lost me. I'm never going to do business with them again. And that's what most of our customers, 80 to 90% of our customers are going to do that. And we're just going to lose them. Which is why, by the way, getting back to number 3, if we can find things in what their complaint is that we can fix, we may save future customers that we never know we would have lost, right? So that's where that value is. But in addition to that, these customers actually now are reaching out to us, right? And the cost is hard to estimate for all the customers we lose that will never say a word to us. But for these people, they're stepping up to the plate to tell us what is wrong. They're giving us an opportunity to fix it. They want us to fix it, otherwise they never would have said anything, right? So by reaching out, they're showing us commitment. If they didn't care about us, if they didn't care about our product or service, what it could do for them, they'd just disappear. But they're showing commitment. They took action. They care enough to reach out, to take the time and energy to give us a chance to fix it. And that is really where we can turn this into gold. That's number 5. The 5th step is to fix the problem. But it actually goes beyond fixing the problem. We can say, okay, we'll give you a refund, or okay, we'll give you what you asked for. But if we fix the problem in a way that goes beyond what even the customer expects, right? Now we take it to another level. We flip the script 180 degrees. If we do a fix, it's okay. But what ends up happening is the customer leaves with a neutral to slightly negative opinion. Their thought process is, well, okay, they did fix it, they did right by it, but it's what I paid for anyway. It didn't work out of the box. I had to reach out. They had to actually make some changes in order to fix it, stuff like that. So, all right, they're okay. I mean, I might do business with them again. They certainly aren't going to talk you up to anybody, but they might not leave either. They might be okay. So that's bare minimum. But when we go above and beyond, we have an opportunity to create an evangelist. When we go above and beyond, we turn somebody from they're emotionally tied to our business because they're angry, they're upset, they're reaching out in a negative way, and we create such a positive experience that they turn around and start to love us. They start to sing our praises. They start to not only get excited about dealing with us again because they have confidence that even if something goes wrong, we'll fix it, but now they want to tell everybody about it. Remember, these are people that had energy. They had the passion, they had the drive, they reached out to us, which means if we make it right, they're likely to reach out to other people and share that story with everybody and tell them about how great our customer service is and how amazing that is. I remember a story from Nordstrom, and it doesn't exactly apply because it wasn't about an angry customer. But I remember, Nordstrom is a giant retailer, high-end retailer, and basically their sort of customer service mantra was whatever it takes to make the customer happy. And there's a famous story. To be honest, I'm not even totally sure if it's true, but it's spread through urban legend, and it's made them legendary in customer service. There was a man who allegedly, an elderly gentleman, went into their store and had mistaken them for somebody else and said, I bought these 4 tires from you, and I noticed like there's some wear on one of the treads. I don't really want the tires. I just want to return them. And so they, asked the man for the receipt or whatever, and they gave him a full refund. Nordstrom doesn't sell tires. So they basically paid this man a couple $100s for the tires that he bought, that he never even bought from them, to make sure that he left feeling super happy. And that story spread through urban legend. Now, it might have cost them, you could say, $300, $400, whatever, in refunded tires. But if I know the story, and I don't even really shop there, and I heard the story from other people who heard the story from other people, you can see the positive effect of having a customer service experience that transcends average and normal, that transcends just problem fix. So again, this guy wasn't an angry customer, but it shows you the power of that, because that's a company that didn't even sell what he bought and they gave him the refund. So at any rate, I actually had a customer example where we had a customer who bought one of our software packages, and he had sent us an email to say that he couldn't log in. Well, the team had replied, and for some reason, email is very unreliable. He never got the reply. So a day later, he replies again, and then again, and it went back, it went back and forth, or mostly forth, I guess, because he didn't hear from us. We didn't hear back from him. We thought it was okay. We get another email a couple days later, and now he's angry. We reply again. So finally, I don't know if it was a week or 10 days pass, and he finally reaches us with an email that I forget, somehow it got to my attention. And I noticed that, we got this email. This guy was super angry. He was like, I'm going to tell everybody about you guys. You're terrible. I paid for this. I can't even log in. What's wrong? Like, is this a scam? Like, what are you guys doing? And what he didn't realize when I checked with the support team is they had responded to every email he sent. But for some reason, his spam filter was blocking them all. So we found another way to contact him. We reached out and we basically said to him, listen, we apologize for the problems here. But just so you understand, we did actually reply. We got your emails, we replied to each one, but for some reason they weren't going through. That's why we reached out to you in this way. I forget if it was social media or whatever it was. We said, what we've done is we've reset your password, here's your new login, and we've upgraded you to the top level membership at no extra charge. And the guy went from angry to ecstatic. Oh my God, like, I can't even believe that. Like, I didn't even ask for that. Like, you're awesome. Like, and he went on and on and on. And this guy went literally 180 degrees from someone who was so angry, he wanted to tell every person he ever came in contact with never to do business with us. He wanted to charge back the credit card company and do all this other stuff. And he went from that to someone who now is going to tell this story to every person that he meets. And so it's super important. He went from an angry complaint and he turned into somebody who now will sing our praises. And again, you could see his energy level. So if you have a guy like that, a customer like that, that's out there singing your praises, that's fantastic. I mean, that is literally the best advertising you're ever going to get. So the takeaway here is, while we don't like to get customer complaints, if we understand that they're really just motivated customers who want what we have to offer, but they feel that they just didn't get it, we can turn those complaints into amazing experiences. And when we do that, it'll encourage those same customers to use the same commitment and energy level to share that with other people about how awesome their experience was with us. And that word of mouth advertising is better than anything we could ever buy.